I was just reading something about Fox 13 out of Utah. I guess last night did a little news story. They're saying that the U.S. Department of Agriculture is saying that be prepared, the states need to be prepared in November for the complete stoppage of, food stamps, basically, because of the government shutdown, the deadline and all that. Now, here's what's interesting about that. You could say, well, damn it, the president needs to just cave in on his demands. Or you could say, well, damn it, the Congress just needs to cave in on their demands and meet the Democrats and do what the president asks and just pass a clean budget and no strings attached. We're not removing Obamacare. We already passed the law, so leave it alone, And you could say, well, they need to, one way or the other, we need to just get something going because they're going to cut off food stamps. Now, as we all already know, the last thing that the elite want is for food stamps to be cut off. Because if food stamps are cut off, as I said yesterday in that video about Walmart, look at multiple Walmarts in multiple states looking like literal ghost towns when the food stamp thing had a little glitch in it, so people didn't go to Walmart to buy anything because most Walmarts wouldn't accept them at the time because they were showing a limitless amount on the cards, which Walmart knew was no way possible, so they didn't want to have a bunch of people loading the boat, so to speak, with food, finding out the next day, oh, well, you only had, $150 on that card, you just spent $500. Well, good luck going and getting the person. Now, there was one particular Walmart that actually did allow that, and it went crazy, as I said yesterday. They had to call the police to help. It was crazy. So, the elite are not going to want people being told your food stamps are now cut off completely. Because if that happens, you got to understand, as much as you may say, well, these people need to get out and get a job, the lazy bastards. Don't know if you noticed here recently, as in the last 5-6 years, but jobs are not quite as abundant as they used to be. And sure, there are some people who definitely want to just soak up the system, so to speak, get food stamps and just live off the system. But when you look at what it actually offers, it doesn't give people a whole lot of help as it is. But again, there are people who absolutely need it. And if I have a choice, which is the point of this video, and here it is. If I have a choice, and they're really going to threaten to cut off food stamps, and they're really going to do it, which I don't think they're going to, because they don't want rioting and people flipping out, but they're going to threaten like they are. Do you want the food stamp program to get cut, knowing that there's people who absolutely need it, more than likely the majority of people who are on it need it, and yes, we know there are people who abuse it. That's going to be thrown in there too. So there are people going to be abusing it. Would you rather have it, or would you rather send billions of dollars to Israel? One state, one country, Israel. Let's not forget about, I heard recently they're going to cut off Egypt, but they haven't yet, this and that, with other aid. That's two countries, Egypt and Israel, okay? How many other countries do you think we are doing this to? We are giving this funding, this help, this aid, as we like to call it. Aid. It's just aid. Sure. It's payoff money so that their politicians become our pals and do what we want. But anyways, aside from that, there's other numerous things we spend on. The defense budget is so astronomically high, it's just sickening. Defense budget, which now includes private military contractors and corporations, which again, we were warned about many years ago. A little term came up called the military industrial complex, which is exactly what it is, which has now expanded to banking, finance, the military, of course, pharmaceuticals, food, etc. So, the bottom line is I do not want to give up food stamps, even to the people who are abusing it. Let them all have it if they need it. And those who are abusing it, you know what? Again, it's part of the statistics you can't change. So it comes with it. But would you rather have that or us giving out what we call aid to other countries? Now, you would think automatically, if there's a budget cut or, again, this budget standoff, government shutdown, if your country was cutting off certain infrastructure, certain things that the rest of the country, citizens, said, no, we need to keep that going. And the government said, yeah, but we can't come to an agreement in Congress and stuff, we got to shut it down. We got to cut because of budget problems right now. Don't you think the first thing that the news ought to be saying, because the Congress and the President agreed, is that Egypt, Israel, Libya, whoever else, guys, can't offer you aid right now. Since you guys are not American citizens, and our citizens come first, since they are the government, and they are the ones in charge, technically speaking, they've collectively decided, and since they've decided, we have to enforce it, they don't want you guys to have aid money when their children and themselves are going to starve, because we're going to pretend to cut off food stamps if we don't come to an agreement, so that we force the people to go to their congressmen and force their congressmen, hey, I don't care what's right or wrong. Just come to an agreement and get the budget passed. We can't do without food stamps. That's how you know it's a fraud. That's how you know it's a complete fraud. So, another day in the great American country. Great countries don't have budget battles. Don't have raise the deficit battles. Don't have these massive party differences like ours, allegedly. Party differences. You and I know there's no real thing. They just pretend it's all a show to pass some other agenda. So, anyways, again, it's another day in America. You wouldn't expect this out of a country that's supposed to be the leader of the world, biggest economy of the world. And again, it's funny how when and not just me using these words, it's all over the world. That's the biggest country, as far as powerful, most powerful country, most economically powerful country, the world's police country, the U.S. We are that deal. We are the deal. And in order to be that deal, this is the irony of all this. This is so unbelievable. We are the biggest indebted nation of the world. How in the hell does the freest country, the most powerful country, most technologically advanced country, most allegedly prosperous country, the country that has its dollar as the whole world's reserve currency, how can it simultaneously be in debt worse than any other country? Matter of fact, most all the world combined, practically. That's not possible. So how in the hell is it possible? That's basically like saying, hey everybody, I'm Superman. Yes, that guy, I save people, I beat up the bad guys, throw them in jail before the police even get there, I stop buildings from falling, I stop trains from slamming into people and killing. That's me. And everyone says that for years and years and years, and everyone waves at Superman, everyone likes Superman, everyone wants to be Superman, they want to be his friend, they want to be his ally, he's just the coolest guy. And then they find out that while all this time, all these years, and starting from day one, as a matter of fact, well, almost day one, Superman has been committing all the crimes. He's committing the crimes and then fixing the crimes. But since he committed the crime and then had to fix the crime, he actually broke the law first and then tried to pretend he was the good guy. So he's actually started off by breaking the law. He's actually, in other words, he's starting off as being a fraud. So that an analogy to our country, we started off, when I say started off, let me be clear here, 1776 through most of the 1800s, I'm not referring to that time period. That's when things were right, as far as the country, the Constitution, the rule of law, etc. I'm really talking about, honestly, around 1913 plus. That's when the Federal Reserve came into existence. Shortly thereafter, the income tax came online. How did this country survive with no income tax up until 1913? It's mind-boggling. It's because the central bank came online in 1913, had to print money, and made the Treasury print bonds so that it could print the money to pay the interest on the bonds, even though it never prints the interest, so you're in perpetual debt. And it had to get paid for. How are we going to pay for these bonds? Income tax. That's all they do. Ronald Reagan had a study done in the 1980s that proved. He had 6 top economic advisors that he told, I want to find out where the income tax money's going. And their report stated, I did a video on this a long time ago, by the way. His report stated that it pretty much goes to paying the national debt. So if it goes to pay the national debt, and the national debt keeps growing and growing and growing, and we can't get it down, why in the hell are we even paying income tax? That'll be a question we all sit back one day and look at with disgust. Take care.